Coming up next on the Mental Health Matters with Marty COVID Schooling Edition, we have Back to School Battles. Stay tuned. Hey, y'all, it's Tuesday, and welcome to another edition of Mental Health Matters with Marty. Again, we come to you live from Southern California, and my co-host is coming to you also all the way from the DMV, and I am Martina Sellers, aka Marty Sellers, your mental health hygienist, and we are so glad that you are joining us on today. Let's give some people some time to jump in here. Let us know you're on here and that you appreciate us, y'all. Listen, we've been getting some great feedback. Let us know where you're from all over the country. We want to know where you're from, and we hope that you are enjoying this whole COVID schooling edition. It was our desire here that we want to bring you some real up-to-date, as best we can, information as it pertains to COVID-19 and COVID schooling. This show, again, is meant only for educational purposes. We are not the CDC or anything like that, and this is not a substitute for medical or even psychiatric emergencies. If any of those happen, please go to your nearest emergency room or call 911 if that is the case. But again, we want to bring you some of the best educated people from all over the country to give you personal advice as it pertains to COVID schooling and what to do in the midst of that. Send your questions, ask your questions. We are here to help out as best we can. Again, we don't want you to suffer in silence, but again, we want you to speak up, speak out, and live. That's what we're here for. So again, let me know you're out there, good people. Let me know you are there as we are doing this. We are so excited today to bring to you some of the latest editions. So listen, without any further ado, I want to bring my co-host up here, Mr. Thomas Davis. What's up now? I think you're on mute, so let's unmute you, man.
What's up? What's up?
Oh, now you got to. What's up? Wait a minute. You got a new backdrop. What's up with that?
It says back to school. Back to school.
Back to school.
Gotcha.
How
fitting, right? How
right.
fitting.
So you showing your true colors today.
Hey.
I got to get me a backdrop and all that other stuff.
So all of my DMV listening audiences, please shout us out. Please chime in to let us know that you are here tonight. One of the things that we wanted to do is make sure that you know that we see you. We want to make sure that we are able to read your comments. So please like, post, and share, as we stated before. And we're going to have a great time tonight. I'm excited.
Yes. Now, again, you are our residential, what I like to call our residential expert when it comes to this. Is our residential expert when it comes. That's all right. It's ours, and we experts nonetheless when it comes to in the Mental Health Matters with Marty show, when it comes to schools. Remind us, so those who might be joining us for the first time, your position and role as it comes to schools and how this is also affecting you as well. Come on now.
Right. So again, my name is Thomas Davis. I am all the way from the DMV, District of Columbia, Maryland, Virginia. And my current position is that I am in the School of Education. I work in a high school, and I currently serve as the Dean of Students.
Yes.
And so how COVID has impacted us up here in the DMV, all of our school systems in Maryland, Virginia, and within the District of Columbia, we are going remote. So that basically means that we are doing 100% virtual learning. Some of us are going back possibly in October, November. And some school systems have made the decision to bring us all back in 2021. So we are all impacted as well.
Wonderful. As we're doing that, and again, how it's impacted. Now, what, as a Dean of Students, what is your role as Dean of Students, and how does it affect you and even encouraging the staff? What's up, Jason?
Hey, Jay. How you doing, good brother? So, and one of the main things that I said, on last week's show is that I've had to learn sometimes to check on our teammates more than often, because sometimes our teammates just have rough days. For example, this has been a long, hot day here in the district. So, sometimes with the heat and with the weather, with COVID, you got to put on a hot mask the whole day, all day, every day. Sometimes a lot of these things causes us to feel a little frustrated, if I'm honest.
Sure.
Having such not a good day, don't want to be at work, don't want to be doing anything, but we have to keep moving. Right. As you say, don't suffer in silence, but keep it moving. And so one of the things that I can say that I have implemented since we have been in COVID is to say it's okay not to say that I'm not okay. It's okay to say that.
Exactly.
Marty, I'm hot right now. That's not okay.
I'm cool right now, so it's okay.
Hey.
But I think that's one of the challenges that we have. That's my auntie. Hey, auntie.
Hey, auntie.
That we have, because so many people are concerned. Anxiety is through the roof.
Right.
From parents. I just got finished with a session, and one of the parents is like, we're teaching, we're homeschooling. We're like, that's okay. You're not the teachers. You're just facilitating and help to facilitate the lessons. And you got to stay in contact with your teachers, with their counselors, with the administration. Do whatever you have to do, because too many of us, I believe, are taking on the burden. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Have you noticed that those who have anxiety may be at a level 4? Now, with COVID, it's like a level 10. You have a depression, but it's gone with that. Now without, and I love that you say it's okay.
Not to be okay.
And we need to verbalize that too, because of everything. Now, I want to throw out some alarming statistics that's kind of happened this week. In Mississippi alone, over 400 plus teachers and students have tested positive this past week because of this COVID. Right. And it was teetering close to 5, because it was more like on the higher end of 450 plus. I think it was 457 if I do an exact number. That's alarming. Then we know that that UNC in North Carolina, college out there, that they had so many freshmen and all that tested positive as well. And next week, we're going to have some college students on here to share with us some of their experiences as well. What do you say about that, and alarming to a lot of these students and your own teachers in that kind of realm as well?
Well, the first thing that I do want to say, Marty, is this: prayers and our sincere thoughts are going out to each and every one of you who have experienced COVID, death of a lost one, loved one, friend, colleague, co-worker. We really and truly offer our sincere gratitude and thanks and prayers to each and every one of you all. In addition, one of the things that I can also say is that I have to look at it from both sides, right?
Yeah.
So the first thing is, we don't want our kids left behind, right? No child left behind. But I also look at it from a standpoint of doing things sometimes a little too soon can become more worse than what it was when we first started out.
Right.
And trust me, I do believe that no school system, whether it's a elementary, pre-K, higher ed, no one wants to position themselves and their youth and their students in danger. However, we still have to be smart about this thing, right? Because we're going into flu season. The weather's about to change. And, now they're offering these flu shots and things like that. Your personal prerogative, but
now the flu shot is different from the COVID shot. Now,
I ain't taking no chances.
I get my flu shot. Faithfully every year. Come on, give me my flu shot.
Have fun with that one, brother.
The COVID shot, I'm going to kind of wait on it. I'm going to let some of these other test rats kind of go.
Right.
Listen, we're having way too much fun. Let's bring on our guests and everything. Introduce our first guest to us that you have with us tonight.
Yes. So it is my pleasure and my honor to introduce to you our first panelist. Yeah. He's all the way born and raised from Dallas, Texas. Cowboys lands. Had to insert that. He's also a doctor. One of the things that I just wanted to introduce to you is a young man who is an entrepreneur as well. And he also works inside of the school as well as a school leader. Yeah. And so one of the things that I've been watching him, because he has his own show where he's empowering young writers to write. He is working with the youth. He has a weekly Facebook Live as well, to where he's just having dialogue. Yeah. And I think right now in 2020, we just need to talk.
That's right.
We need to talk. We need to empower each other. We need to support one another.
Yes.
Last week, I saw a show that you were on, and you had the greatest comment. We are not here to compete.
Right.
If anything, we're here to complete the mission.
Yes.
And imagine if all of us come together with our different skill sets, with our different backgrounds, we can do a lot and we can accomplish a many. So without further ado, I want to introduce to you Dr. Calvin Green from the DMV. What up, Calvin?
Good evening, gentlemen. How are you? How are you both?
Doing good. Well. We're doing well.
I'm making it. I'm excited about this conversation tonight. I'm excited to be a part of it. I'm excited to just be in the midst of some fellow great thinkers, some fellow minds on the move, as I call it. So thank you guys so much for having me, joining you this evening.
Excellent, man. We appreciate you. All these things that's going on. What are your thoughts of all this going back to school? And we're going to just have you do a brief on that, and then we'll bring some of the other guests on. But what are your thoughts on this whole COVID schooling and the direction we as a nation are heading in?
So I'm going to take Thomas's word from earlier. I'm not okay. It's a lot. It's definitely a lot.
Yes.
And being in the education realm here recently, there are so many moving parts, and it's so overwhelming at times to even think about all the what ifs. You're planning, and then there's well, what if this happens, or what if that happens? Yeah. So it's definitely overwhelming, but we're doing our best to get through it. We quickly made a shift to online learning back in March, nationwide. There was definitely some hiccups across the nation as we're seeing in the statistics and things like that, as far as the levels of engagement and things like that. But I think we are in a much better place now as schools start to open than where we were back in March when everything, as my grandmother would say, when all hell broke loose.
That's right. That's right. Well, listen, Dr. Green, we appreciate you now. Without any further ado, we want to bring up our next guest, which is Brother Johnnie. Johnnie, all the way from Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh.
Yes, Johnnie, what's going on, brother?
What's going on? Glad to be here.
Glad to have you on. Yeah, now, Johnnie, you're in the school system as one of the school counselors. Am I correct?
I am a therapist in the school.
Yes.
So what my position is, my position, I am a mental health therapist under Family Links Incorporated. Family Links Incorporated is a national nonprofit organization in Pittsburgh, where my actual position is linked with the Pittsburgh Public School. So what I do is I'm in an actual therapeutic classroom at a Pacific Design School where I do individual and group therapy.
Okay.
In the classroom. But since COVID hit, it's kind of took a toll because of the whole situation with schools getting shut down and things like that. And when the schools had got shut down at first, I was working remotely with the kids doing individual sessions. But then when funding came into play, that's when the furlough happened. So I had been furloughed from my job since the end of March. But surprisingly, I had got the call yesterday that I will be returning back to work on August 31st.
Congratulations, man.
I'm looking forward to it because it's at a state that I'm just glad to be able to help with the kids again, regardless of it being virtually, because Pittsburgh Public did make the announcement saying that the first 9 weeks, the kids are going to go to school virtually. So I'm just glad to get the offer to say, okay, you're going to go back to work, you're going to help these kids. That's what it's all about. Because the kids need it, especially with this going on right now. It has been an increase in problems, relationships and loss, especially within the school setting. And also kids are losing like their safe haven. People, like kids go to school as like a safe haven, and building that relationship with myself and also with the other teachers and stuff, that reminds them of is like a family aspect. So it's like a family being lost because of this pandemic.
You're right. You're right. You got Jarari out there giving you much props out there and everything. And tonight we're so excited to have joining us is someone in the medical profession. This young brother got his act together. Not only is he an RN, he about to be all this other stuff, but he went back to do psychiatric He's a psychiatric nurse, RN in that as well, which is so important because we already know that too many of our kids have been misdiagnosed and given the wrong medication because of the misdiagnosis. So we don't want our kids walking around or being at home like zombies.
Amen.
But we need professionals who are in the medical field who are given these psychotropic meds, who look like us, who understand us, and are going to work with not only the students, but the parents as well to make sure that our kids get the right medication. So without any further ado, all the way from the ATL, we're so excited to have Mr. Jarari Dodson coming out. Come on, Jarari, how are you?
Hey, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good
Wonderful,
evening, sir.
Good. How are your bees out there in the ATL?
It's hot. It's very hot.
We in the triple digits out here where I'm at in the desert. So
Right.
listen, I don't even know. They threaten rolling back blackouts too. You cannot be in triple digits and have a rolling blackout. Come on.
Oh, yeah, no.
You're trying to make us pass out. but Jarari, we're so glad to have you on here and definitely to share what can parents do during this COVID time, and even during this time of where everyone is on edge from a medical point of view. Where do you see this out, especially with Georgia being hit as a major hotspot and Atlanta's off the chain right now in that? What do you encourage those kids? Because we saw that school where Hannah was at, and that school has had so many. They've had over 100+ cases, if I'm not mistaken. That has. I know. What do you advise for some of our parents with that as well?
It's a very difficult situation. I feel like you have a lot of students who are returning. You have a lot of parents who cannot really, in a sense, accommodate their children, being homeschooled because, they may have to work. So I would say the best thing is just to, continue the practices. I think that to kind of say that it more so is going to go away, I don't feel like that's going to happen. But I would say just, continue to encourage the children to wash their hands, practice safe hygiene, definitely wear a mask. But in another aspect, I do feel like, we all are going to come in contact with it after a long time, because like even with me, I'm transitioning. I just started practicing as a nurse practitioner. So I'm seeing a lot of people in office. I do outpatient. So I'm seeing a lot of people come in the office. So, we kind of still have to keep social distancing and things like that. But, I one of my coworkers at the hospital had tested positive for it. So it was, it was just that close to me. This is a coworker that, I work closely along with. I mean, thankfully I didn't get it or, but it's just the principle that the complicated thing about this this virus is just that the symptoms vary, from person to person. I actually just lost a cousin due to COVID. He was older. He actually was a medical doctor, and he was screening for COVID, and his patients tested positive, and he, got it. Wasn't in a bad, state of health prior to COVID. He just never recovered, and eventually, they had to make the decision pretty much, which my family, had a difficult time in making that decision. But he passed away this past week.
Sorry to hear that.
Yes, thank you. So it's just very complicated. It's hard to gauge at how each individual will react to it, because old and young, everyone has different reactions. You have some people that have it and they never exhibit symptoms. They may just lose their sense of taste or smell. And then you have those other people who have very much so sensitive reactions to it, where they could have severe respiratory problems, things of that nature. And it's so bad, to the point where these people cannot even get treated all adequately unless they are, almost near death. So, it's very much so I won't say it's like the flu, but it's very much so symptom based treatment. So whatever your symptoms are, that's the recommended treatment. If you're having difficulty breathing, if it's not severe, you may want to incorporate kind of like teas. I know lemon is something that they tell you to incorporate. They have different teas out there to help basically, promote respiratory health. If you do have a fever, they recommend Tylenol. So it's a lot of various treatments that they may have that may help with it. One that I would recommend is definitely, just immunity, as far as like, getting your vitamin C, things of that nature. Pretty much, eating your vegetables, your zinc. There are actually certain packs out there that are specific to COVID. It's like a vitamin C something pack. It's like $20. It helps with immunity because yeah. Right now we don't know if you can get it twice, and so it's a thing that you can get it, and if you survive it, it's a good thing. But we don't know right now if you can get it twice, if it's different strands. The research is not that advanced on it yet, so we really don't know what to do besides just treat the symptoms. The vaccine, even though some people are opposed to the vaccine, the vaccine does help with giving you passive immunity. So it may not be live when they give it to you. However, it can help the process of you basically becoming immune to it early if it does replicate. But if it replicates and it's not the version of what vaccine they gave you, then you will have all of the other symptoms that you had prior to COVID. So, I mean, like you've had the first time. So,
and as a COVID survivor, I had all those lost taste, and Dr. Green, yes. So with that, and listen, I don't know about you, but I was adamant about taking my teas with lemon and honey and all of those things, getting my rest and all that. So y'all, this is serious, and I do believe we're probably going to approach herd immunity within a year of this thing. Now, I'm not an expert, so don't go quoting me and all that. That's why I got the medical person on here as well.
Right.
But let's talk, y'all, about our schools that we're dealing with, and especially Johnny and Dr. Green with that, because you guys are and let me say this too: hands out, a clap to all of our frontline workers. We appreciate all the medical doctors. Jarari, we appreciate you. We appreciate the teachers. We appreciate our firefighters and all these other people, the delivery person, the grocery stores, those in the Lowe's and Home Depots out there that's still allowing us to do what we do. And of course, our therapists. Woo! Yes. Listen, the referrals are off the chain. I got this waiting list now. That's crazy.
You wait until it stops. It's gonna be even.
Oh, yes, I mean, it's gonna be even greater.
Oh yeah.
So, and look, and we ain't gonna have to worry about no misdiagnosis. It's gonna be a lot of GADs, generalized anxiety disorders, post-traumatic stress disorder. Yes.
So, like we said, anxiety. If you were already anxious before COVID, now your anxiety is through the roof and all that. Let's talk about how do we help our parents, who have students who are in school. How do we keep their anxiety levels down, both the parents and the students? Because we got that mama back there. We all have seen that meme. She forgot
Had she been a little bit older, she probably would have been one of my parents.
Yes. Paula, thank you for sharing. We appreciate you. And Paula, we love you so much out there in the Connecticut area. Yeah, y'all up there. And they're doing a great job in that corridor up there, keeping the pandemic under control.
Shout out.
Yes, I'm going to throw this out to Dr. Green and Johnny. How do we help our parents? How do we help our students deal with this anxiety, especially now when home may not be as safe as school?
So I think for me, the biggest thing is realizing that our parents are not okay, especially in the DC area. We have multiple families with multiple children going through this whole homeschool quick shifting. So I actually had a parent today who she has 6 kids, of which 5 are engaged in virtual learning for the upcoming school year. And she was really just overwhelmed to the point where she was basically saying to me, Dr. Green, I really don't have the bandwidth to do all of this. I'm stressed out. I don't know how this is going to work. And my children need to actually be in the building. So one of the things that we've actually done in my role, and I actually am like the director of student services for my building. I work at a charter high school here in DC. Shout out to Friendship Public Charter Schools. We are actually we had this evening. I was running late to the call tonight because we had a parent university meeting, and so we did kind of do like an intro to like what virtual learning looks like. So we did an introduction. We talked about what Google Classroom is. We talked about how to access Zoom and things like that, as well as we are doing things more intentional this year. For those parents who are overwhelmed, especially with their high school children, we're creating what are called learning pods in our network schools. So in these learning pods, what actually will happen is our scholars will probably come into the building with their parents' blessing twice a week. They come to the building twice a week, and what will actually happen is they'll be in small cohorts called learning pods of no more than 8 scholars. So while they're actually logged in for class each day, like we are right now, there will actually be a dedicated adult in the classroom as well with them to kind of help keep them engaged and keep them on task, and to also offer assistance, because a lot of our parents shared that when we broke for COVID back in March, many of their scholars struggled with the whole online platform. One reason could have been because there are multiple children in the house, and we did give them a hotspot, but 2 or 3 kids on the same hotspot slows it down, slows down the bandwidth of what can actually happen. Also, other challenges were just for many of my scholars, they constantly kept sharing, Dr. Green, school is my safe haven. Now I'm at home all day. I don't want to be here already, but I'm having to deal with all the things that are happening around me, and I can't go outside. So we're offering as a learning pod platform this year for some of our parents to kind of help alleviate some of the stress. And to also, we have to remember that we're teaching parents as well. Many parents didn't have platforms like this in high school, or they don't even know what a Google Classroom is. We're having to actively teach parents how to check email regularly, how to access, how to contact teachers and things like that. So we're in a space where, a very crucial space where to help alleviate some of the stress, we're trying to help our parents grow as well, to help some better support the scholars.
That's amazing. Yes. And just, I love the concept of teaching the parents, because I think you're right. When it happened, and even out here in college, there's just, it's just going to be for 2 weeks. Well, no one anticipated it being for the rest of the year.
Right.
And so that changed the whole scope of things. You're like, oh, man, what am I going to do with these kids? My vacation is done. I done used up all my sick time. They eat all the food in the house. I'm overwhelmed. I don't even know how this stuff works. But I love it that you're doing that for training the parents. In that, Thomas.
So, I mean, you said something, Dr. Green, that was very, very, very vital. Safe haven, right? How can we keep our parents and our youth feeling safe at home, and as well as doing this virtual learning process? So one of the things that I just wanted to just throw out here is, how do we educate our teachers? Marty brought up something that I was going to share about that meme when the young lady was sitting in her space, ready to learn, and here comes a pop-up. You know, how do we teach our teachers to be understanding of their environment versus being judgmental about it?
Good question.
Anyone can pop in.
I'll say this. In terms of that aspect, and this is the point that we have to educate the school professionals as well, in terms of being more open and being more receptive to the environment. Most of us, we should, as including us as therapists, we already know the environment that the children are facing and what the families are facing. But it's up to us to be able to educate the school professionals to let them know that this is their environment that they're in, and we have to accept it. It's not like we can just go up in there and change it because COVID's happening. All the thing we can do is just take it step by step, and just be open to what is available, what's there, and mainly focus on what our actual goal is, which is mainly to educate the child. Right. And also If the parents need education as well in terms of getting things done, then we'll be open to that as well. I know before the furlough situation happened on my end, I've been in communication with my teacher and my paraprofessional in the therapeutic classroom.
Nice.
And what the teacher done is that she had an app where she included myself and the parents into that app just to talk about the different resources and things that are out there in the state of Pittsburgh. And then also teaching the parents about different programs that's accessible, even though like Dr. Green had agreed on talking about the bandwidth and things like that. If one child's not able to access a specific website, they could go on another website where they can learn about different things.
Right.
It's still stay in tune on, the curriculum.
Yeah.
And that's another thing we had to focus on more so too, is that now with school starting back up, we can't just hop on the actual curriculum. We have to meet the children and meet the families where they are.
Right.
To figure out what their needs are, figure out what strengths and work weaknesses happen during this pandemic. And I know for myself, I'm gonna have to just go in there, just ground zero, start from the beginning, because me having that furlough happening, it's like everything just crashed. Even though I had already planned everything for the next school year, everything is ready to go. I can't just jump right into the curriculum. Can't jump into different topics. I have to build relationships with them again.
Yes. Build that
that's where we have to start at. We got to start rebuilding that relationships and just taking a step at a time. I can't rush and say, oh, I got to focus on this goal right here. No, I got to focus on making sure that person's needs are met first before I go into the actual treatment plan or the actual things that they got to face on. We got to start from zero.
Right.
Yeah, good. Dr. Green, same thing.
I go back to my previous statement of, and I'm going to date myself when I say this, but it gives me the lean on me scene where the parents are in the gym,
love it,
and the school gets the parents actively engaged and involved. I feel like in many of our schools that's missing, and that's primarily because I'm only 40 years old and I have parents who are 40 years old that have 18-year-olds in my building. So there's a lot of things that parents didn't have to experience. A lot of our younger parents didn't have to experience. And then you also have the remnant of students who are being raised by grandparents. So grandma just found out how to check her email. So if I want to have a Zoom meeting with grandma doesn't know how to click on the link.
Come on.
And interface with me on a platform like a Zoom. So I say all that to say that we're constantly evolving. We have to be mindful of the parents that we serve, the students that we serve. We have to remember what our why is. Why did we join this profession? We didn't join the profession to get frustrated easily. Yes, we were throwing a curveball. Yes, we were throwing a curveball on this COVID, but we have to be mindful that we can get through this. And when our students win, we win. So be mindful of that scholar who actually is I had to find out I had a scholar who was the oldest sibling in the house. So that scholar wasn't able to log on during the day for classes because they had to make sure that the younger siblings were logged on for classes. So I had to let my teachers know that they couldn't actually penalize Thomas for turning his assignments late because he wasn't able to complete them during the window of when the class was. If Thomas isn't able to finally focus on his class at 8:00 at night, as long as Thomas puts forth the effort and turns in the assignment, you have to be mindful and respectful of that because we don't know what these kids are actually dealing with in their home life.
Man, you got me with chills over here.
I love the statement you said. When our students win, we all win.
We win.
Yes, that's good. That's good. Go ahead, Thomas, before I take over and I get excited.
Look, I'm just there right now. This is great. So I said last week with teachers, when we have a meeting with our teachers and our teachers are interfacing with our parents, I said this last week, and I'm going to say it again this week because Dr. Green, you hit on something. If a teacher, or educator, therapist, social worker, anybody says to a parent, your child did this, and we're not saying our child, that's the problem. Because they are in our care, whether it's virtually, hybrid, semi-stream, wherever it is that we want to call it, they are with us. And so we also have to understand that we got to make sure that we are understanding, we are culturally sensitive, and that we understand that parents can't do it all, right? And we need to not keep saying the parents. We have jobs as educators for a reason. So we got to make sure that we understand first that our typical workday may not be from an 8 to 3, because there is a kid named Joe that can't turn in their work because mom is on her laptop making sure that there are food in the house. So how do we deal with that? And then also, how do we deal with the anxieties, Dr. Dodson? How do we coach our parents? How do we coach our youth who are in the home, who may not be able to have access to their medication at home? Because let's talk about that. Pills sometimes get missing. How do we coach? How do we teach our youth to still be responsible at home when they can't go into the nurse's office and take their 8 o'clock pill?
Ooh. So it's a good thing that you touched on that, because with me beginning practice and doing outpatient, I thought initially that I would, be seeing people because the office was still open. But on an average, I may see up to like 20 patients a day. So a lot of them are tele. So even with children, we do have the option of prescribing their medications via e-scribe. So, they don't have to come in the office. But it's just like, we just have to do it by phone call, because a lot of times the parents are not, technically inclined to do Zoom meetings, and they're not always secure. So it's something that we're supposed to do. However, with HIPAA and things of that nature, and especially how psych is very, sensitive when it comes to privacy, it's better that we do calls. We do schedule calls with them, and we talk, about the course of their medications, how they're feeling, things of that nature, so we can know whether we need to change them or, we need to keep them the same. It is something that they are adjusting to, and a lot of people actually like it better because they don't have to come in the office, to sit down or, whatever the case may be, because many of them don't like to come outside due to their anxiety. But it takes a lot from, the parents and just the accountability of that patient. We can see patients from, I think the youngest that I've seen thus far is like 9. And, but she has a lot of support. But, you have also those school age kids that are like near, 18. So, their support is not always there. So it's just the accountability and checking in with them. We do like a weekly check-in with them to, ensure that their medications are working well. A lot of them are undergoing medical changes and medication changes because many of them took breaks during the summer from their Adderall and things like that. So we're having to restart them on that and, assess whether it's effective and things like that. So it's a lot, and it affects a lot of their performance and, things of that nature. So definitely it's a big aspect.
What do you say even to those parents who have students who are on, especially, if they're taking a summer break, which a lot of parents do allow their children to take a summer break from their medications. Now they're back on them in that. How much time do we need to honestly give them to allow their bodies to readjust to that as well? And what can parents do in that interim time to give them patience in that time too?
It usually takes about 4 weeks for them to get recalibrated. The parents are usually, if they're on Adderall or like Strattera or Ritalin, things of that nature, the parents are usually understanding because this is usually a long time thing. We don't, primarily usually start people on it. So they kind of know. I think it's just us understanding and them paying attention to whether the dosage that they had is effective or not. Because sometimes they can need less. They may not need it at all. Or sometimes they may need an increase. So it's all, because for these kids, some of them, depending on, what was actually going on, a lot of them have been off their meds for like almost 4 months. So it's a thing that, for them, it's kind of like starting it all over again. So they just have to, we stress to the parents to make sure that they're monitoring their concentration, how they're
Yes, that's good.
performing, and that way we can know whether we need to adjust or not. Because that's a big thing. As you know, Adderall is a controlled substance. It does have amphetamines in it. So, if we can keep them off of it, and the provider, the psychiatrist that I work under, he is really big on not, necessarily doping people up, and he's real big
Thank
on
you.
that. So, and I agree, I align with that. I am not one of those people that would just prescribe you Xanax and Klonopin, none of that. So,
right.
Need a little bit.
Because we know that Xanax is very addicting.
Very much.
Very much so. I had this lady that I did actually tele with the other day, and she was practically begging to get it. And it's not something that it's very much so a risk, because considering the crisis that we have in America of prescription drugs that are being sold and all these things, and as medical providers, we have to keep account to that. And and even if we suspect that someone is addicted, we have to stop it, because if we don't, that's our license, and I just got mine, so
don't lose your mind.
I understand. Yes, I want to address a question up here before we move on, if we could, by one of our listeners here, Miss Paula Williams, that she was having. Says, for my high schooler, the first day of school was supposed to be August 26th, then September 1st. Today, it was moved to September 10th. I'm sending my son to school because he's a senior, but if it wasn't his last year, I would have done the distance learning. I don't trust the safety of the school bus, so I'll be driving him. Good for you, Mom. And my college student, my daughter, is living on campus, but all of her classes are online, and the tuition is still the same. Heaven forbid. There's so much to think about, and I think that's where a lot of our parents are caught in this quandary with that. So I want to do it from a twofold with that. I want to address, Jarari, what are some of the basic things that we can do to help boost our immune system with that from a physiological point of view? And then I'm going to tag team Johnny and Dr. Green in there. What are some things that we can do from a psychological point for both the students? I'm going to have Johnny, you address the student, and then I love this parent thing that you're definitely doing, Dr. Green, and addressing Mom with some things that she could do as well. So Jarari.
Okay, so I would say definitely get rest. Rest is a big thing with immunity, because if you don't have a lot of rest, that naturally breaks your immune system down. I would say definitely, make sure that you load up on your vitamins.
Good.
Definitely try to reduce your stress level. That's important due to the fact that stress can also lower your immune system. I would say definitely lemons. I think lemons are found to, well, number one, they're citrus fruit. Any citrus fruit is kind of safe and good because it has vitamin C and it helps with immunity and things of that nature. And your diet. Your diet is really not just with fruit, but just in general. Your diet is really important during COVID. Even alcohol, try to limit your alcohol consumption, because alcohol naturally breaks down your immunity as well. So it's a lot of things that and factors that you have to incorporate. But I would say, primarily, even if you feel like you more so have symptoms of COVID, and a lot of people are kind of scared to go get tested, which is, totally understandable, because, you don't really want to know. And I guess, a lot of people feel like it's pointless, because it's like, you, in a sense, there's nothing you really can do, other than, treat it at home. So I would say, but just, precautionary, the big vitamins are vitamin A, vitamin C, zinc. All of those are great big vitamins to fight COVID.
Good.
So I would say definitely the vitamins and the diet and the rest and all of those things are important.
That was great.
Beautiful. It was. Johnny.
I say for the aspect in terms of kids, mainly to one, stay active. Most kids nowadays are active now, so still be able to, play, go outside. Even if you're outside, wear your mask. Also eating right, so still, get your nutrients that you need. Mainly the main thing that's important too as well is rest with children. Still have that same routine of going to sleep. And I think that's the thing what parents can implement with children as well is still continuing that routine. If you know that your
Yes.
child's bedtime is normally 9
That's
o'clock, have
key.
them go to bed at 9 and go from there. And also with schools happening virtually, still had that routine of saying, okay, it's 7:30, get up, take a
That's
shower,
it.
get ready, brush your teeth, and just have that routine going. Because if you take them off that routine, it's going to be hard for them to put them back on that routine. And plus, with them having a lot of this, freedom and free time on their hands, it's going to be like, oh, I don't need to do this because it's not really, no legit thing happening. But still keeping them on that basic routine that they had before COVID happened, they should be all right. And also not be afraid to, especially with children, regardless of what age you are, not be afraid to be open and express your feelings. Say how you feel. Talk to your family members, including parents. Be open to listening to your kids.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. Thank
Good
you.
points. Good points. Miss Paula, thank you for that response. I hate that you're in that type of predicament, honestly. I feel like what should have happened was parents should have been given the option of face-to-face or online.
Right.
I said that to say that because your son's a senior. I know that you're probably opposed to the online aspect, but I think it will be a great experience for him, only because I used to work at a college as well as a dean of students. And one of the things that I actually ended up enjoying was having students take online classes. So as your son with him being a senior, having the online experience now could help better prepare him for college. Because when he does get to college, initially, he will have to eventually take an online class or two as he navigates successfully through his academic coursework. I hate that you also feel like he has to go face to face because he's a senior. You never want to put a parent into a position where they feel like this is the only option that I have. And so I think to best support him, I definitely think I get the whole this is his senior year. However, I wouldn't, because they keep pushing the dates back. I think there may be some good things that come out of the online learning piece. That may haven't been that may not have been revelatory as of yet. I think it'll be a great experience for him. I do know within the DC area, and Thomas can help attest to this, they're like pushing all the sports back to like the spring, I believe. So like a lot of the student life things that our students are normally exposed to in the fall, kind of pushing those things back to the spring where students can still experience them. So like your son's an athlete or whatever, this actually is a good time and a good semester if his GPA is where you want it to be, for him to buckle down with that routine that Johnnie was talking about and stay engaged in those classes and get the GPA up to a little bit higher where he may want it to be. It gives him more time to actually focus on the SAT that's coming up in October if he's going to be taking it. And there's a host of other things as well. For your daughter that's the college student that's on campus taking classes online, just do me a favor. Don't say you heard it from me. Make sure they don't charge you the activity fee and all the other stuff.
That's good. That's good.
Love it.
Love you a technology fee.
Love it. Love it.
Sure, you're right.
I just wanted to applaud Ms. Williams for just speaking out and just asking these questions. We don't know until we ask. And so thank you so much for ensuring that your kids, our kids, are safe. So thank you so much for that. I also just want to take a quick turn and just ask you, Dr. Green, how can we just keep our parents encouraged? Because she brought up a great point. Parents still got to pay for tuition. They still have to pay for all of these fees, but yet they are losing out on so much. How can we keep encouraging everyone to just keep moving forward? Like, we know what COVID is. We know what the implications are. So how can we just move forward in a positive note?
I think we just have to continue to be honest and transparent with our parents. We don't know the answers. we're learning. We're learning as we go through this process,
right,
and hoping to get better each and every day as we continue to evolve through it. I think one of the main things also is for parents to stay in contact with teachers, with administrators, get those cell phone numbers, get those email addresses, stay in constant communication as a parent, especially for my parents who have students with special needs, whether your child is a special education scholar or what I like to call them exceptional learners,
or we love that.
Or if they have a 504 plan, make sure that you are engaged with and in constant contact with their special education coordinator or their 504 coordinator, which ironically, I'm my building's 504 coordinator. So how do the scholars continue to get the supports and the accommodations and met, so that they're met virtually, so they still have the same standard virtually and the same supports that they would have in the brick and mortar. So my parents, just stay involved, stay engaged, help us remember our why, meaning make those phone calls, send those emails. If you, especially in a time like this, if you send an email or make a phone call and don't get a response, hit the person back again. Like don't make it. We're put into a space where we have to really show where the rubber meets the road, and we have to work hard to support our scholars. And this isn't an 8 to 5 thing anymore. Honestly, I have parents calling me at 8 o'clock at night because I just got home from work. Johnny has an assignment, and Johnny needs some help or support with something. Mm-hmm. So we have to keep the lines of communication open both ways for our parents. So to our parents, please stay encouraged. Please don't feel like you just want to give up and just throw in the towel. That's what we're here for as educators, to help us remember why we signed up for this profession anyway, because we're here to remember our why and to support you and your scholars.
Marty, if I must say so, this panel tonight, each week is getting better and better.
It gets higher and higher. That's right. That's right.
You all are setting the standard for next week. So I guess next week that's listening, you better get ready. Dr. Green says something about being encouraging, being empowering. Yes. So, Johnny, I have a question for you. So I had a parent that called me this evening right before the show, and this parent was very discouraged. And she was discouraged not because of COVID. She was able to just share, and she gave me permission verbally. Tip number 2 to my therapists out here: you never communicate any information without verbal authorization or a consent form signed. Tip number 2 for our therapists. So she shared with me that she just felt depleted. And I said, why? She said, because it's not because of COVID, Mr. Davis. I just don't know how to do any of this technology stuff. Mm-hmm. I just don't even know what the heck is a Zoom.
Right.
And so my question to you, Johnny, is when we are encountering or when we have these situations that are taking place in our students and families' lives, how do we encourage that person not to give up? Because it's easy to give up when we don't know. So my question to you as a school counselor is, how would you empower that parent?
Basically, I would empower that parent by just meeting them where they are. So if, say, for example, that person does not know what Zoom is, educate them on what Zoom is. Even if they don't have Zoom, figure out what works for them. So, like, for example, before the situation with my furlough happened, I was working with the kids remotely. But first off, I worked with them remotely through phone. So I started meeting them where they are first. So starting with talking to them through the phone, and then work my way up, going into Zoom and things like that. So basically start small. So if that parent already knows, okay, I'm so used to doing, phone calls, just doing phone calls. Then work your way up into the higher things in terms of like Zoom, Microsoft, Google, all those other technology things that that schools and stuff are using, and just work your way from there. And then another thing is that with the school professionals too, they got to be able to be in support of that, especially when it comes to the older generation. Most older adults don't even know Zoom. Most older adults don't even have, internet. Most older adults don't even have, the iPhones and stuff like that.
Right.
So we got to meet them where they are. We have to meet them where they are. If they say, oh, I want you to mail me a packet, mail me the packet.
Can't even mail it right now with the USPS.
I'm serious.
That's
serious.
right. That's right. Go back to mail me a package.
We got young kids that they quick to get on the computer and do what they gotta do. Fine, but then we got older adults that are stuck in the old-fashioned ways, and we gotta accept it. We can't just say, "Oh, forget your way. You gotta do it our way." No, because you already breaking a relationship right there by saying, "Oh, my way is better than your way." That's not the case. We got to be able to be open to what they want to do, so they could be able to help. So we can be able to help them out and just work our way from there.
Johnny, I love it because listen,
yes.
we go past the school. So listen, I know the school open, at least administrative office. I'm gonna swing by, put it in an envelope. I'm gonna honk my horn and just throw it out the door.
Throw it out the door.
But then also you got some school districts that don't even want to do that at all either.
Right.
Well, I love that. Keep the accountability, both what you're saying and keeping those ways of communication open with that.
It's funny to what Johnny was saying, and I'm sorry.
No, you're fine.
When we broke for COVID, one of the main things that we had to learn in our building was that many students didn't have internet. So what we found out was many scholars have it on their cell phones, but not in their households.
Right.
So we had to do a quick, let's get some hotspots for the scholars to get them online, because we didn't know, because they come to school for everything, like the technology needs that they have. They use us for those things, but they weren't able to log on when we broke back in March for COVID, because they honestly didn't have internet service at home.
Right.
I love it. You refer to them as scholars. That's right.
Love that.
Stop the stinking thinking and put the right thought in their mind. With that, Jarari, how can whole families, and I know I'm repeating this, I love it, be mindful of, Big Mama taking care of them and all of that, and what do we families need to do, and keeping the conversation about their physical health as well.
Me and my barber had that conversation, because he was saying how if one kid got it, then the parent has to stay home. Then another kid got it, then the parent has to stay home again. So it's like it's kind of like a ripple effect, I would say, because actually a lady that I used to work with, she and all of her children in her house had got it, and it was a thing that they all quarantined together. But if one child in the house gets it, it's like you kind of take the same precautions like you would as if you were on the outside. You kind of make it a family thing. The one benefit I can say from COVID, it has brought a lot of families a lot closer. Because they've had no choice but to kind of be close and be in the house together. So I would say just make it a family unit thing, and it kind of can make parents, if they are able to engage and be more involved in their kids, their school activities and their health. I think that, the benefit of this is that, if you look at it from a positive aspect and they all employ these habits, then everyone, will benefit from it. But it's all a unit, it's a unit and family effort. So,
Excellent. Can we put
Marty?
Go ahead.
If I could just chime in on this comment. Ms. Laura, we appreciate you.
Yeah, that's what I was going to too. Yes, go ahead.
Ms. Laura stated that we are virtual, and I am still trying my darnest to make it easy on my parents as possible. We are a very low social economics status where students can't necessarily meet Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
Come on.
And this touched me. And I just want to shout out to our listening audience. You guys are chiming in tonight. We are seeing your comments, and we can't do this without feedback from you. So although that we can't see you, your energy is here tonight. So thank you so much for that. I wanted to address this because tonight we've talked about safe havens. We talked about getting rest. We talked about being understanding. We talked about, yes, I took notes. We talked about being restful. We talked about positive, changing what we say out of our mouths. That is also a part of the hierarchy of needs.
That's it.
Because if we don't feel good about ourselves, if we don't get enough sleep, if we don't have a safe haven, even if it's in a closet, for 10 minutes, if we don't have these things in place, none of this really matters. So, Ms. Laura, thank you so much for saying that, because I think we have to sometimes visually see things.
That's right.
Sometimes we got to take ourselves out of the situation and look at it from the lens of someone else. So I just want to say to you, keep doing your darnest to make it easy on the parents, but also hold all of us accountable.
Yes.
You can make it easy, but you still got to hold us accountable wherever they are. So thank you so much for putting that out there, Ms. Laura. We applaud you.
And that I shout out to Laura, because that's my homegirl from back in the day and everything. Yes. So from the big Ohio. And listen, y'all, can you believe that this hour is already up? And I know it goes by so fast. I know. He said, "What?" Let me just make sure. Yes, because I want to personally thank Thomas. I personally thank each and every one of you for how you've come on here and reached out to us. How can our listeners get a hold of you or follow you, Jarari? How can they? You're a young man, doing some great work out here and doing it in the ATL. Man, so proud of you, and you got more letters after your name than they have in a Las Vegas office. In that so many degrees after that. How can we get a hold of you, Jarari, and still follow the great work that you are doing?
So my Facebook is Jarari J. Dobson. My Instagram is Jarari_Dobson. And my Twitter, I'm back new to Twitter. I deleted Twitter years ago, but my Twitter, I think, is the same. It's like Jarari_Dobson.
Okay, wonderful. Jarari, we can't thank you enough and being on the front lines. And thank you for looking at our young people and saying, listen, that dosage is too high, or that's the wrong medication for what they've been misdiagnosed. And we appreciate you. We applaud you and everything. And listen, y'all need to, all this, ask how he can get licensed in y'all state, because we need some more folk like him.
Right.
I got him first in California, so I got dibs. Y'all next. So don't play with me.
Hey, Marty, I'm sorry, Marty. He's on the East Coast. Don't do it. Peace up. A-Town down.
Okay.
Get your own psychiatrist. There's a shortage of good ones. With that, Laura, it is our pleasure. Thank you. Johnny, how can these people get a hold of you, especially those in that Pittsburgh area, because we know services are needed? How can we get a hold of you, Johnnie?
Okay, so people can contact me on Facebook, Johnnie R.M. Geathers. And then on Instagram, people can reach out to me on Instagram, JG the Mastermind. And what I have been doing as well on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn, every Friday, I have been doing, since the pandemic started, I have been doing JG Mental Health Fridays, which are short videos of where I talk about different mental health topics and provide coping skills that everyone can use. And even though with me going back to work very soon, I'm still going to be able to do those videos every Friday, because it has been a hit and people have been reaching out to me all over the world, just giving me like positive feedback and just saying thank you for making these videos and being an impact. And I'm going to keep them going.
That's right. That's right. Johnny, I appreciate you, because I've been checking those out. You made me go,
Right.
Dr. Green, it has been an absolute pleasure, man. How can I'm not gonna hold it against you, that Thomas and all that. That's a whole nother topic later.
Watch it. Watch it.
My good brother.
Look, I didn't even mention that tonight. But
Not
since
at
he
all.
did it,
y'all alphas around here trying to take over the world. And
a little bit.
I was a GDI, so I can't even say anything. So, Dr. Green, how can we get a hold of you?
So thank you again for having me this evening. My Facebook is drcalvin.green on Facebook. My Instagram is @IamDocVerde, VERDE. And if you are free tomorrow night, I started a weekly dialogue session about 3 weeks ago. The first one was the importance of your dash. So we talked about for about an hour the dash in between your birth date and your death date. Last week we discussed the power of social media, and tomorrow night at 8:00 you can catch us talking about the real on mental health. So I have a couple mental health professionals coming in for this first installment. There will be another one where I'll have to get Marty on. as well in the future. So that's what I do. I'm an educator by profession, and I just love helping people.
Wow. Well, that's quite obvious from everyone on this panel. You just poured out. I appreciate you. I was checking some things out. You know how those of us who do Facebook background investigations, like, I got some things going on here and everything. So we appreciate you. Yes. Thomas.
Yes, sir.
We're
going to keep it moving real quickly. You can reach me on the following platforms, and they are on Instagram, Limitless Possibilities for You. You can also reach me on my website, which is www.limitlesspossibilitiesforyou.com. And lastly, you can reach me on YouTube. Thank you so much to our listening audience that has reached out to us this evening. Your comments are well received, and we cannot do this without you. Thank you so much.
Excellent. Thank you so much. We cannot thank you guys enough for how you've all contributed to this. We want to help build healthy families and healthy students during this pandemic. Like Thomas reminded us tonight, it's okay to say you are not okay. And again, I'm Martina Sellers, your mental health hygienist, and you can definitely check out my new website at www.mentalhealthmarty.com. That's www.mentalhealthmarty.com. We got some exciting things on there, and we're going to have some links on there for you parents and resources, and Thomas's too, about that, on how to during this pandemic to stay connected. I can be reached on Facebook at Mental Health Matters with Marty, or on YouTube at Martinez Sellers. And also, please check out my podcast that comes out with us. Please like and subscribe that. Our podcast, on all your podcast streaming forms as well. We would love for you, on those of you who have Apple, to give us a 5-star rating and leave a review. And also, you can text I Matter to 31996. Again, I Matter to 31996 to stay in touch with everything that's going on with Mental Health Matters with Marty. In this time, when we are all going through so much, we don't want you to suffer silently in the shadow of shame, but we want you to speak up, speak out, and live. Please join us next week, as we're going to have our college edition of this. We got some college students that's going to be joining us next week, and we are so excited. So until next week, stay up, y'all, and be encouraged. We'll see you then.